Hello and welcome to episode 194 of Just Keep Writing,
a podcast for writers.
By writers.
To keep you writing.
I'm Marshall.
I'm Jenna.
I'm Shingai.
And I am still LP.
And we have a full house of voices you haven't heard yet, and I'm very eager to hear how this conversation goes. So welcome to all of our guests. I'm going to throw it over to Shingai to get us started. Welcome, everybody.
Amazing. Okay, y'all, I'm so excited for this episode. We are joined by three brilliant writers in the community who are doing incredible work. We've had one of the writers with us before, actually, Erin Brown. And I'm going to pass it to Erin to just give a little bit of an introduction of who you are and your work and your writing. And then we can go to Emmalia and Tonya, and then we can get this conversation started because we are going to be talking about an anthology that everyone who is listening should absolutely keep their eyes peeled for. Erin.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Erin Brown. I am a speculative fiction author, mostly horror, but a little bit of fabulism. I've been published all over the place. FIYAH magazine, Midnight at Indigo, Nightmare, Fantasy, bunch of others. Had a couple of anthologies as well. And my first book, Garden of the Blood Potter, came out last year. So I'm super happy to be... Thank you so much. I'm super happy to be with my team working on creating opportunities for more writers. So I'll pass it over to Emmalia here.
Hello, I'm Emmalia Harrington. I've been a reader at Podcastle and FIYAH for years, and on the rare occasion you can hear me hosting on Podcastle. I have short stories published here and there, FIYAH, Anathema, Abyss and Apex, Flame Tree Press, and I have a story upcoming by Tor.com, the anthology Forged in FIYAH. Do check it. Do pre-order it. My first novel, Walk on Grey Ruins, was published in November 2024.
Nice.
Incredible.
Yes. Tonya.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tonya R. Moore. I'm a Jamaican speculative fiction writer based in Florida. I am poetry editor at Solarpunk magazine, and I've had work published in the Space Funk anthology, Fantasy and Science Fiction magazine, and I am also going to have a story in the Forged in FIYAH anthology by Tor that's coming out in September.
Nice.
Yes!
But also,
so much brilliance in the room.
Aren't all three of you Voodoonauts fellows?
Yes.
Yes.
No way.
Not true.
Amalia, didn't you
That's
also
absolutely
sneak
true.
in twice because we didn't tell you that you couldn't apply again?
Yeah, there were no rules about it, so I ended up going the first 2 years.
Love.
Oh, that's fun.
Great having you both times. So I think, let's just talk about it. The Cookout anthology. I feel like this is a long time coming. I'm very curious to hear what your process was of putting this together as far as like the logistics aspects before the slush opened. Like, what were those conversations like?
Well, we all started talking about this in one of the writing groups we were in, Carbon Collective. And, we were thinking about, how lucky we were to be in community with each other and, finding speculative Black writers who were making sure to inject, our culture into what we were writing and being visible, being able to see ourselves in these works. And we were talking about how much we owed the people who were building the tables for us and how we just really wanted to check that out, see what it was like on the other side and build our own. And, we were throwing around ideas for, what is the Black version of this? What is the Black version of that? And then we're just like, but like, what if it was just like the intergalactic high fantasy cookout? Like, what if it was just the cookout and all the different speculative styles were invited? And the more we talked about it, the more excited we got about it. And so we just decided, you know what? We've never done anything like this before, but this might be the time for some audacity. let's give it a try.
Yes.
And the team that we put together, you know, Emmalia, Tanya, and PC, who's not with us at the moment, we gelled so fast. We got so much done so quickly. We were such a productive group that just wins kept falling, you know, one after the other. We ended up with representation from Android Press as our publisher. And, you know, we had just this really boisterous community support. So, you know, we really we've just been hearing so many stories about all these writers that turned editor, turned copy editor, turned publisher to make sure there were places for our stories to go. And it was our turn. Yeah. What do you guys say? How was that process for you guys?
I remember it took us about a year to first really start getting this project off the ground, because we did so much research. We were asking so many questions. And I will forever be grateful, because publishers, editors in the community who've already done anthologies were only too happy to sit down with us, to answer our questions, to, you know, tell us about some of the pitfalls that we might run into. And the community response to the idea of the cookout was also very encouraging. So it just felt like a steamroller, just kept going and gaining momentum over time. So I'm really grateful to be a part of this project.
Let's see. For my part, it was food porn and speculative. Yes, please.
Yep.
I want to be involved. And yes, let's get the logistics done and solid. And I am logistics. Let us plot and plan very carefully, because if we're going to do it, we want to do this right, rather than like not even a burst in flames, just sort of like shrivel in a forgotten corner. No, we want to do this good. So logistics, so much logistics.
Yeah,
for sure. Like and she is not like overstating it. By the time we were speaking with Justine over at Android, after about, I think 30 minutes, he said, "You guys are the most prepared group we've ever." Like, aside from like put it on the paper, I don't know what much else you guys actually need. Because we went down the list of everything and decided on everything together, and we had it all ready to go in case we needed to publish it ourselves. But, you know, it's like, hey, we could try pitching it. And the first two places we pitched it, both wanted the book, but one was offering, you know, to give us a little bit more financial support. And, you know, we're making this out of the basement, so we there was none. So we went with them. But yeah, lots of very, very careful planning.
I do have to say, in large part, kudos to Erin and her project management skills for keeping us on track and keeping us going. The success of this project so far, a lot of it, in very large part, was because of her contributions.
Thank you for your executive functioning.
Yes, my completely like, hey guys, let's do this and let's do this and let's do this and let's do this and let's do this, and they're just like, okay. But yeah,
while doing a master's, while writing a book, while having a full-time job.
Honestly, it's what kept me going. You know, I'm working on my education so I can create more opportunities. You know, I work to eat, so that's why that happens. But, you know, and like I would not be an author if there weren't people doing this work. And I am not someone who just wants to take and take and take. I want to give back. And coming across a group like this, where everybody in the group had a lot more experience than I did when it came to editing, when it came to the behind the scenes stuff, I'm just throwing ideas at them and they're running with them or saying, actually, let's try it this way. And I'm like, okay, great. But I was a cheerleader. So that was my job.
That's amazing. So speaking of wearing different hats, I'm curious, because all three of you are incredible writers, and I've had the privilege, like through Voodoonauts and other spaces, of reading each of your work. But now you're also in the position of being editors, and like you've had experience in other spaces of being editors, like Emmalia with Slush Reading, for Podcastle, I know we had some overlap there. And I'm I'm wondering how it feels different, or where the crossovers are between being an editor and a writer for y'all, and where the differences feel more magnified, or how they feed into each other.
I feel like you guys should answer this one first, because this is my absolute first time doing any of this, and you guys all have years of experience.
I can start first. For me, there are stark differences between writing and editing. Editing goes much more smoothly for me, particularly with my practice in slush reading. It's changed over the years. Right now, it's, can I find the heart of the story? Is there enough space for the characters, and so forth? And when I guest edited for FIYAH, I forgot to mention that earlier, I tried to be more of I want to help you tell the story you want to tell, rather than the red pen, this is bad, fix it. So I want to encourage rather than be mean. And my thoughts flow so much more easily than when I write. I have expressive dysgraphia, which means I have an exceedingly slow writing speed because I struggle to translate raw thoughts into coherent text. So I can only go very slowly and deliberate. And I don't know how much of that shows in my writing, but it also explains why I take longer than most people. So even though I enjoy storytelling, it's more of a... masochistic's not the right word. It's like, I want to get this out, but I can only get it out at a certain pace.
What about you, Tonya?
Okay, so in my case, for me, writing has always been kind of an abstract process, almost. I sit down, and when I was younger, the word would just flow onto the paper, and that was it. As I grew older and my neurodivergence, became like more pronounced, I found that I needed to learn how to plan stories, plot stories. So I went from being a pantser to a semi-plotter. And editing has actually taught me a lot, in the respect that when I'm looking at someone else's work, it's easy for me to see what the story needs, what needs work, and pick out the strengths of the story and where it might need a little bit more attention. It's not so easy with my own work, but because I have this experience of editing, it's actually helping me with my own work to be more objective and, sort of see the forest for the trees. I also guest edited an issue of FIYAH literary magazine, and that was a learning experience for me, because I've always been a fan of giving constructive feedback, so that was never an issue for me, but it made me realize that I needed to be more cognizant of not just what I as a writer want to put on the page, but what the reader expects from you. And so I think because of that, now these days I write with a little bit more intentionality and focus on how is this going to affect the reader? How is the reader going to respond to my writing?
So, as I said, I've never done this before, editing, but I am an avid critiquer. I got an amazing education on how to give and receive critiques on creative writing through a writers group that I used to be a part of. And I think it's called Speculative Ink. For years and years, 10 pages a week, every week for about 3 years. And before I was writing to publish, I was writing to develop. And I put my 10,000 hours in, not just in writing, but also in critiquing so many pages constantly. And I learned the tightrope walk that is critiquing an artist's work or a writer's work to help them get closer to their goal specifically, as opposed to just me pointing out what I think is wrong, what I see wrong, or what I would do differently. And so now that I'm here in this space where we are selecting stories and we're slush reading, and I'm doing this for the very first time, you know, I am being very careful and thinking about, okay, I think I see what they're trying to say. And because it's not a critique session where there's give and take or back and forth, I have to check, okay, is it close? Is there something I can offer that can help them get closer to what I think their vision is, as well as keep the vision of the whole project in mind. But other than that, you know, writing can be such a lonely process if you don't have community built in when you're starting to build it. So when you're putting out an idea like this to people that you've never met, you've never read the work, they're brand new to you, and they're sending you work based on your vision, there is, I mean, it almost brings me to tears where there's people who are, you know, pouring their hearts out, not just about the story, but about their view of this very precious Black commodity that is the cookout. You know, I say, show me what yours is and make it magical. And they're doing that for us. And it's just such an honor. So like that, I'm spazzing out with glee every time I'm reading some gorgeous new story. And then I'm remembering that I'm a professional. I'm supposed to be editing and all that sort of fun stuff. Yeah, like that, the experience of just witnessing the results of having faith in the vision and having it connect with people is just really incredible. It's the first time I've been through it. So yeah, I'm giddy.
That's incredible. LP, I feel like that's a good segue to the joy question.
Well, sure. So, you know, the cookout embodies this knowledge of this experience of being Black and having a relationship with food. But like for me, that also makes me think about the card games and the music and like teaching my mother a dance that she never gets because people in my family aren't good at dancing, and Black joy, and then where that meets science fiction or horror or magic. So like in your world building and story weaving, how are those showing up in your work, but also how are you having conversations about that in your editing? There were a lot of words there. I'm sorry.
I'll start. I began writing with the Black experience in mind after attending that one massive worldwide online convention that FIYAH threw, and learning about what it means, because I had never really considered what it meant to write Black before, or to write from what I experienced as opposed to what I was taught and what I studied. Because, you know, my idea of fantasy my idea of fantasy was Tolkien. My idea of horror was Stephen King. And so I had not known, you know, that there were other people that were doing this in a way that was real to us, you know, outside of your Jordan Peels and whatnot. But once I realized that was an option, that's all I wanted to do. And I always kind of choose some small aspect and build the story around the small aspect usually. And I find that is showing up in the work that we're being given. You were mentioning like the card games and all of that, but there's also the recipe done a new way nobody asked for. There's also the cousin walk, you know, that everybody comes back a little bit quiet from, and all these things, you know, like they're showing up in the stories. And it's like, I was given the example when I was pitching this idea to everybody. I was like, you know, so you've got your hot comb and you're hot combing your girl's hair before you go. So what does that look like if they're mermaids and they won't keep it dry? Like we may not be mermaids, but we all know that struggle, both as the little girls and as the elders saying, you better not mess that hair up that took me hours. That is a cultural like phenomenon that spans the diaspora. You know, maybe we want to see hot combs and mermaids and whatnot like that. Like, wouldn't that be great? And so in those ways, just like, it's not the whole massive experience, but one thing about it that makes it us, and taking that and building a story around it is what I've been doing. And I'm noticing a lot of our writers are doing the same thing, our submitters.
I have to say, one of the things that first came to mind when we were thinking about the cookout was the whole potato salad issue, the potato salad problem. And I hoped and I prayed that someone would write something to do with the potato salad. And I can't give anything away, but our submitters did not disappoint.
And I remember we were talking about the potato salad thing because, we were talking about it being about the diaspora. This is not just American Black. This is everybody Black, and we were saying, we'll put some mention potato salad in our promotional materials. And then Tanya's like, but we don't really do potato salad where we do our cookouts. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. There's all kinds of cookout food I've never heard of, so I'm going to have to do some research and learn about what it means. Because, some places they might not worry about potato salad, but just say the word jollof and it's a whole conversation that I've never, my neighbor, we've never discussed jollof. Our rice was pilaf and it was out of a box. You know what I mean? So like, I'm learning as I'm reading, what it means to, what the cookout looks like in every corner of the world right now. And learning about the jollof battles has been a lot of fun.
One of the things that I'm happy to learn and very amazed to learn is that our culture, Black culture, is so multifaceted. There are so many flavors depending on where you come from. Not just where you come from, where you live. So for me, as a Jamaican living in the United States, my idea of a cookout is probably different than a Jamaican living in Jamaica. But at the same time, there's something very distinctly Jamaican about mine while I'm here. And, when you think about all the writers that are coming together to make this anthology and all the different places they come from, their different experiences, and they're bringing all of that to the table. And it's just wonderful.
Let's see. In my family cookouts, I am one of the two most popular chefs, and I am also the troll. I make a point to piss off my more traditional family members with what I make, to the point where one Thanksgiving, my grandmother called me. She's like, please don't make Korean-style collard greens. So naturally, I did.
No, you didn't.
Oh, it gets better. She tried some. It's like, this is a measure of my love for you. And then it breaks my heart and kills my soul to say this. They're good.
Emma was cooking a lot of stuff for our promotional material when we were still pitching.
Yes. Because one of my philosophies of writing Black was and still remains, fuck you, we're not a monolith. So I gotta look beyond what most Americans consider traditional Black cooking. So I've whipped out A Taste of Heritage, my Brian Terry cookbooks, Between Harlem and Heaven, which has my favorite jollof rice recipe so far, a Madagascar rice recipe, which is really tasty and will make it into my rotation of staple foods, Jamaican, and yes, my Senegal cookbook, which I've only tried a handful of recipes, but they are some solid recipes and they are very good for trolling traditional family members, like the raw collard green salad.
Wow.
That's amazing. And like, y'all are speaking to my heart, especially with the multiple Black diasporic identities coming together to talk about food. And because like food is really, it's the way to the heart, y'all. Like Tonya, you were talking about being a Jamaican living in America, and like me as a Kenyan living in America too. When I'm feeling homesick, I cook. Food is the way that I make myself feel that connection. And I think, just like the insistence on collaborating beyond the ideas that we've been given about ourselves as a monolith, like you were pointing to, Emmalia. So I'm curious, because this is a project that is requiring multiple hands. How do the textures of collaborative creation feel different from creating in isolation?
It feels really nice because it's not just one horribly forgetful brain working on things. It's shared between 4 brains, so we each take turns lifting.
You know, weirdly, it had me confronting my imposter syndrome in a completely different way. Because it's one thing to show up in a space where you're not sure you're great at something with a bunch of people that you don't know, or people that what you're working on is not like at the core of your heart. But when you're in this group of writers you respect, whose stuff you read all the time, and who are, you know, esteemed editors at places you're still trying to get into, hint, hint. And then like, you've got an idea, you really want to pitch to them. I had to develop a lot of bravery to speak up sometimes about stuff because I cared so much about their opinion, and because I respected them so much, you know, and this was not your typical group project. Everybody was 100% in. Everybody was very talented, very experienced, and very creative and motivated. So it was like learning how to, keep the ball rolling in one specific direction when it could have rolled in 80 different directions, and each one might have been equally successful because we make stuff happen. Having to choose yours and to try to sell it, it can be really nerve-wracking, I think. So it was a new muscle for me to develop. Working on this project, because just when you're writing a story and you're submitting it out, your story is representing you, and you can sit back and not even be a part of that process. But when it's like you're reading it aloud to them and watching their reaction. It's a little more nerve-wracking. I think I got stronger.
Working with a team it made me feel like I was not in a silo. Which writing alone, you often feel like that, and you question yourself a lot because you don't have someone else to say, hey, that's a valid idea. That idea totally works. So that's the main difference for me. I feel like this experience gave me a lot more confidence in myself as a writer because I was with like-minded people who understood Black culture, and when you are writing alone, you don't know where your work is going to end up. You don't know who's going to be reading it, who's rejecting it, why they're rejecting it. I literally had someone once write back to me about one of my stories and said, we don't publish such stories. And I really had to question that because do you mean you don't publish Black stories? What's going on here? You know, and it could have been just someone being awkward with how they articulated themselves, you know, I don't know, but it's nice to have community. It's great to have community and have that community be full of like-minded people who understand where you're coming from.
It's fortunate we work well together. I'm like remembering school enforced group projects of yore where it's like, oh no, not these people. And with us, it's like we have a common goal. We want to be together. And I think we each try to do what we can in terms of lifting rather than one person trying to sidle out of it and get the A regardless.
Also,
Definitely.
We always had at the forefront that this was not going to be a life disruptor project. So we were all working full time. Some of us were moving across the country. Some of us were attending conferences. Some of us were in school. Some of us were doing all these different things. So if there was a day where one of us was just like, I just don't have it. I don't want to go to this meeting. I did not finish my homework. It was like, cool, let us know what you need. That was always the response. So we had time to show up, as 100% of where we were at any given time. We didn't have to give anybody else's version of 100%. And it ended up working out very well. We always had our bases covered. And as far as I know, no one was ever overwhelmed by the project, which was super rare in something like this. So, I mean, this was going to happen one way or another, but if it took 2 years, if it took 5 years, and this is what it was going to take, because we were still going to be human beings while we were working on it.
Absolutely.
kudos to y'all, and especially like bringing it back to the respecting each other. I think that's like a huge bit of like being able to do a project like this successfully.
I agree. Like Emma said, we wanted to be together. We couldn't wait to meet up. We would discuss what we were going after. We would talk about what we'd accomplished from last week, what we thought about accomplishing next week. Then we'd gossip for a little while and go about the rest of our day. We met once a week, and we looked forward to it because we were doing something. Even if not much got accomplished, we were doing something, and we were building and building toward it. But we were we were just productive. It was just meant to be. It was kismet. This project wanted to happen, and it wanted us to make it.
Shingai and I have the experience of putting together Voodoonauts Present Reliving Mythologies, which was also a multi-year experience, fruitful, but a multi-year experience nonetheless. And we've been threatening to do another anthology since. And like, it's different. Editing, like say a magazine is different from editing a short story collection or a poetry collection. And all of those are different from doing an anthology, right? Because anthology, you're trying to make a lot of different voices sing together versus a collection where you're trying to make sense of what you wrote in a way that it hangs together to give someone a full experience. How did y'all as editors get onto one accord about the experience that you wanted a reader to have in engaging with this anthology?
I think the subject matter did the heavy lifting for us there. I'm going to get real ridiculously metaphorical here, but this is a plate full of dishes brought by everybody, and that's the entire point. So, you're not supposed to put the greens on the plate with the cobbler. That's not the point. The point is everything covered? Do we have all the things we're expecting? So we kind of discussed, like, first of all, we had our anchor authors that we sought out. We had them send their stories in, and then we kind of were looking for, make sure we have something that's got a little bit of the horror element, something that's got a little bit of the sci-fi, something's got a little fantasy. We want something from, from the continent. We want something from Southern America, something from maybe Midwest or West Coast. We want something from, other European countries that have African people in them, or African American or African diasporic communities in them. Just like a little bit of everything was kind of the point, as long as it wasn't just the same story told different ways by different people. So we're still kind of seeing what's going on. We're still in the slush reading, and we're going to kind of work with what we're given, because that feels honest in a way. We invited all these writers to the cookout. We're going to see what the dishes that they bring instead of telling them exactly what to bring. But we're gonna kind of work on that on the back end. We just want to make sure that we've got every dish somebody's expecting gets covered, I think.
Well said. It would, as funny as it would be, it would also get a bit dull if every book, every submission we published was about the potato salad battle.
Right.
I think a lot of the heavy lifting also occurred not only because of the concept of the cookout, but when we first started coming up with how we were going to put the idea forward, how we were going to promote the idea, and a lot of that had to do with what we had to figure out what our goals for the anthology were, what our hopes were, and what we wanted out of it. And because of that, we all got on the same page very quickly.
Tonya, I'm going to riff off what you just said, because it's making me remember Octavia Butler's "Everything is change, God is change." Everything that you touch, you change. Everything that you change changes you. The only constant truth is change. God is change. So what are you all learning about your own process and practice in putting this anthology together?
I'm learning that I want to be more than a writer. And I did not really know that until I gave it a try. I was working on, I'm working on my master's so I could become an instructor, but I never really saw myself on the editing or publishing side of this until I really got involved in it. And I am addicted to bringing more Black writers into the light. Like something about that is just really sitting well in my soul. So I'm always going to write. I write the way I breathe. Like I was writing before I was trying to publish, but if I spent time planning on doing more projects like these, it would still feel good. And that's pretty much what I'm learning.
Yeah. One of the things I'm learning is to be fearless in my writing. It's very easy to get into this mode where you worry about, is this something that's good enough for the readers? Are the readers going to like my work? Is this going to hold anybody's interest? What if I don't write about something people want me to write about? And what I'm learning is that just write what I want to write. Mm-hmm. Be bold and put your words out there. And if people love what you write, they love what you write. And if they don't, you know what? There's millions of more people in the world.
Beautifully said.
I'm curious. I know that we're still in a weird place with this, right? Like all of the stories are in slush, and you're in the process of looking at what you think might be able to be turned around, and get some things sent back, and maybe it doesn't land the way you intended to land, and then like let's fast forward 6 months. And you've chosen everything, you've put it in order, and you'll have the cover art, and the book is out, and like you're breathing a sigh of relief as people are holding this book, and you've done the thing, right? Now let's push out 6 months past that. Do you think that you do another anthology together?
Yes.
We have already talked about
this. No hesitation.
None.
We already talked about We talked about this before we had a publisher. We're just like, this is fun and we want to see this book read, but there's so many other Black cultural tropes that would be just so much fun to explore. So
can we get a sneak peek?
We've got a short list.
One,
I'm not
maybe?
sharing it here, but the minute you hear it, you'll be in stitches. Whichever of the ones that we choose. Yeah, this might have to happen again.
I feel like the most difficult decision we will have to make is which theme to go with. Not whether or not that anthology will happen, but what theme where we're going to make it.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
But I want to talk about those 6 months.
Okay.
I'm going to push back 6 months. This is something that it just occurred to me too. One of the ideas that we wanted to center while we were doing this is that the cookout wasn't just going to be the title, but it was going to be the experience for us and for our writers, because community building and community protection is at the core of not just the theme, but what is utterly necessary for Black writers, speculative Black writers, but also just Black writers right now in publishing. Mm-hmm. So, we've got the book and we're selling the book, but we're selling these authors. We are saving a space for a brand new author. We want it to be somebody's first publication. We're going to be setting up our, promoting them. We're going to be, setting up interviews for them. We're going to be putting out marketing material for them. Like, we're going to be a major support system for them as writers. Really pushing, everyone showing up to promote each other's, if they're getting things published in other places, to be reposting everywhere. Like, we are at this book cookout together, and we're all supporting each other, taking each other, make sure each other's progressing, being all in each other's business, and giving advice, wanted or unwanted, all that stuff. Real family business. There's going to be this entire experience for our authors. So once once we pick them and once we have them set up, they're gonna get sick of us before this is over. But we're gonna make sure everybody that knows us will know their names. So that 6 months, that's what we're gonna be working on as the paper's getting printed and the copy editors are hard at work. We're gonna be, showing up to people's readings and pinching their cheeks and giving them, Werther's originals and telling them, keep it going and we're real proud of them and all that business.
That's incredible. Oh, I'm so excited for this cookout anthology.
Oh my. Okay, I'm super excited about this collection of editors. I know all of you except for PC. I'm bummed that he's not here because I would really like to meet him. Super excited because I know you as writers, and now the world is getting to know you as editors. And like, while this isn't like a Voodoonauts project, there are 3 of you involved, which does my heart really proud, right? And so I'm curious if you are planning to formalize this venture. I don't know if you have a name for your editing collective, or it seems like you have plans for more than one anthology after this, and maybe who knows what else will happen after that. But like, if I'm honest, few years back, me and Shingai were in Orlando, and one of the elders pulled us aside and told us that we needed to start a press. It was very awkward because like we're kind of steeped in the organizational aspect of it, but is this, are we looking at a sustained thing? Maybe not a press, but maybe like an imprint where you guys come back around every year or two? Like, is this the next step? Like FIYAH happened and then Voodoonauts happened, and are y'all the next step? I would like that, but like also no pressure because it's a lot of work. But also look at what y'all do for the culture. I'm so proud of you.
I feel like there are so many possibilities that are open to us right now. We haven't made any concrete decisions about the future yet, but those possibilities are not off the books. They're not off the table, I should say. So we're in a kind of a wait and see kind of mode right now, and Erin is about to finish up her master's. I'm about to start mine. We don't know where we're going to be in the next couple of years. So, there's also that, because, time is a very scarce commodity sometimes.
I will add to that and just repeat myself. I'm a babe in the woods here. I don't know. We did not even consider seeking out a publisher until we were talking. I was talking with some people at BayCon. I was part of the first Afrofuturism Lounge at BayCon last year. And I was just chatting about the project, and they kept introducing me to publishers. So when I came back to the group and I was like, hey, do you guys want to see if a publisher might be interested, or just like talk to us about what the process is going to be? And we set up an interview with a couple of them, and we were just like, hi, so what does this mean? And what do you do? And where do you go? And what is this part? Like, just asking questions, and like, yeah, we'll take the book, by the way. It's like, so that's an option now. Should we? Okay. And I think that's not the most straightforward, maybe might be the most professional way to go about this, but it's working with us so far. So aside from everybody's schedules, I'm almost of the opinion that I'm going to sort of let the book decide. I think we're all pretty invested in trying again with maybe one more anthology, because now we sort of know the process is going to be cut way down in half. We don't have to figure out so much. But what you're talking about, we would be starting from scratch of figuring things out again. And so if it's a chorus of people saying this and offering us advice, resources, their ear, their shoulders, whatever, it's a possibility. But we don't even know what all the possibilities are. So we're winging it. And, you know, if we'll say when, we'll try to manifest. If we get some awards coming out of this and people start talking about it, then it's something that I think we would consider figuring out a way to integrate into.
Mm-hmm. I will say I have several project graveyards in my home. I have some old project graveyards in my mom's home. I have learned long ago, as tempting as it is, do not get ahead of yourself. Do not add to that graveyard. So first things first, we continue working on the cookout, and then I will consider the other stuff.
But like also what I'm hearing, what I'm hearing from your experience is that this is very spirit aligned. Like the way that the doors have just been opening for y'all, like this book is needed. Like you're being given all of the signs that this book is needed in the world. And I think even LP has brought up Voodoonauts. I feel like that's how we started. We knew nothing about anything when we began that project. And like a lot of it has been learning as we go. And, you know, like that comes with fumbling the bag sometimes. And it comes with like, oh my God, the doors have opened up for this particular thing, which means that like, you know, it's meant to be birthed. And I'm so excited for y'all to birth the Cookout Anthology. Yeah. What are you thinking about the book launch and the celebration? I'm gonna also bring it back from the 6 months ahead that LP had took us to. We're time traveling all over the place.
I'm not sure we've talked about that quite yet. Yeah.
We haven't.
It feels kind of funny. It's like the book is a party, so we're throwing a party for a party.
Yes.
I don't know.
I haven't thought past tapping into my family network. Hey, help spread the word.
I know I'm going to be annoying a whole lot of Black booksellers here in LA because, you know, there's quite a few, and they are very active in the community. So I might like reach out and talk to them about some ideas of like how to launch and how to maybe have readings and that kind of thing. But yeah, just holding the book is going to be a celebration. It's needed. It's so needed. And I can feel it even just like through the slush reading that these writers are giving us stories they've been dying to write. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's all just a celebration.
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, I think the last question is like, how would you like folks who are listening to this episode to support the project moving forward? And also, what else can we expect from y'all as writers and as editors in like the immediate future?
I'm talking everybody's ear off. Someone else is going first today.
Okay, things to expect from us in the future. PC has a book coming out next month. What was it? Rabbit, Fox, and Tar. So do check that out. As for the Cookout Anthology, our Kickstarter has ended, so keep your eyes peeled on Android Press and on the Kickstarter Anthology's social media. So updates, you will get updates from there. As for the rest of us, well, yes, Tor.com's Forged and FIYAH anthology is coming out in September, and it's available for pre-order, so shameless plug.
Yeah.
What about you, Tonya? Anything to add?
Yes, absolutely. So Forged and FIYAH, of course, as Emmalia said, wherever books are sold, it can be pre-ordered. As far as the anthology goes, when it comes out, buy the book. Buy the book.
Shout it, whisper.
Buy more than one copy. One to keep, one to give to friends, one to donate to your schools or library.
I will say I'm going to ask for some interaction. We want, like, this is still a party where, you know, our folks are invited. So we're going to be blasting out on social media. Repost us, retweet us, or whatever it is that they're doing, skeets or whatever those guys are. If you see a writing prompt from the cookout, give us a little mini fiction, you know, and if you have some food that you think should be magicified or, you know, horrified or whatever, let us know. If you see us out, shout us out and interact with us. As far as what to expect from us, this book, we are trying to get it out by the end of the year. If not by the end of the year, then early 2027. And what else? Yeah, we're all still writing. We're all still submitting to everything, everywhere. I have a story in another Black diasporic anthology. It's They Swallowed the Sun, and that's coming out. And I made it into
a beautiful title.
Huh?
That's such a beautiful title.
The cover art. Oh my God, it's gorgeous. And I got a story there, and then I have another one that's in Tea or Coffee, Stars and Gravity from Erin Nothing Press that's coming out pretty soon. So yeah, I'll be shooting out little stories like every which way I possibly can, but I will be talking about the cookout because it's just a joy to talk about, and the closer we get to getting this out, the more excited we get.
Did you say Erin Nothingness Press?
Mm-hmm.
You want to hear something very funny? A couple of years ago, they put out a subcall for an anthology called The Librarian. And I wrote a story for it. The story didn't get picked. But that's a story that was published in the Space Funk anthology.
Cool.
If I remember correctly, almost everybody in that writing group we were in got rejected from The Librarian. I ended up publishing in another place too. Yeah. So I finally made it there. Yeah. But yeah, I remember that. That was something we all bonded over. So we know writers out there, the trenches, we know how it is. We're going to have, we're going to do our best to get as many of you in there. We had the word count go from 500 to 5,000 because, we wanted to accept about 7 stories or so, but if we're accepting the shorter stories, we might be able to fit more in there, so we're trying to launch some careers here. We're trying to get some people, get some stuff optioned. We want Netflix specials. We want all of it. So, we're trying to. Yes, we're lifting the tide here for everybody's boats. And then we had another question, I think LP said.
Yeah, this is the last one. If you've never listened to the podcast before, we generally end with what keeps you writing, but y'all are editors. But I'm like, I don't know. I feel like we should ask. It's been a long time since we asked one on the podcast. What keeps you writing?
I enjoy creating, so let's see. Can I be a bit crude here?
For sure.
Yes.
Okay. I want to keep. It's more like I can't not write. More, if I do, it would. Not writing would be like not pooping. So I will try and stay regular, be consistent, and I will be happy.
Appreciate it.
Not writing leads to health concerns. I can understand that.
I'm dying over
That's
here.
That's one of my favorite metaphors I've heard about writing.
That was amazing.
I think Ray Bradbury said it best, Write for Love. He said, stay drunk on writing so reality cannot destroy you. And he couldn't have said it better. He couldn't have said it better. And it keeps me going. So that's why I write.
Well, I'm not nearly that poetic about it, but I just have to do something productive with all these voices in my head. So I put them on paper, call them characters, and sometimes people give me money for them and put them in books. I write like I breathe. I was born a storyteller, and I have a lot of weirdness to say, and speculative fiction gives me an audience for weirdness. So why not? Yeah.
I just want to thank all of you for being on the show. This was amazing to just sit back and listen to. I am so inspired and want to be part of whatever you guys do in the future, because this cookout thing sounds absolutely phenomenal. And it's just something, as soon as you guys said potato salad and cousin, I mean, I just can't even tell you, like, it means the world to me. So thank you so much for putting this out there ultimately. And thanks for being on the show. We appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. This was so much fun. We love talking about this. So we'll talk about it every chance we get.
And this has been Just Keep Writing, a podcast for writers, by writers, to keep you writing. You can find us at justkeepwriting.org. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Feel free to reach out to any of us on our social medias, and please jump in our Just Keep Writing Discord channel. Links to all of that is in the show notes. Lastly, please support our show by going to patreon.com/justkeepwriting. We offer daily writing prompts, early access to podcast episodes, and much more. Thanks for listening, and just keep writing.